Good evening. It is August 18th, and I'm excited because we're dealing in Esther. We are done with Nehemiah. Hopefully, we don't have a lot of names in these. It looks like it's easy, so we'll see how that goes for the next few days. Because I'm over all the names. I pray to God that they're done for now. Looks like it's smooth sailing for a while. Okay, so we're going to be reading Esther 1 through 3:15, 1 Corinthians 11:17 through 34. Psalms 35:17 through 28, and Proverbs 21:19 and 20. Every night we like to do the Lord's Prayer, so if you will join in with me, I greatly appreciate it. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Esther 1 through 3:15. This is a story of something that has happened in the time of Xerxes. The Xerxes who ruled from India to Ethiopia, 127 provinces in all. King Xerxes ruled from his royal throne in the palace complex of Susa. In his third year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all his officials and ministers. The military brass of Persia and Media were also there, along with the princes and governors of the provinces. For 6 months he put on exhibit that huge wealth of his empire and its stunningly beautiful royal splendors. At the conclusion of the exhibit, the king threw a week-long party for everyone living in the Susa, the capital, important and unimportant alike. The party was in the garden courtyard of the king's summer house. The courtyard was elaborately decorated with white and blue cotton curtains tied with linen purple cords to silver rings on the marble columns. Silver and gold couches were arranged on a mosaic pavement of pyrophy, marble, mother of pearl, and colored stones. Drinks were served in gold chalices, each chalice one of a kind. The royal wine flowed freely. A generous king, the guests could drink as much as they liked, king's orders, with waiters at their elbows to refill the drinks. Meanwhile, Queen Vishta was throwing a separate party for the women inside of King Xerxes' royal palace. On the seventh day of the party, the king, high on the wine, ordered the 7 eunuchs who were in his personal servants, Miriam, Biztha, Harbana, Bigtha, Abagatha, Zertha, and Carcass, to bring him Queen Vista, replenished in her royal crown. He wanted to show off her beauty to the guests and the officials. She was extremely good looking. But Queen Vishta refused to come, refused the summon delivered by the eunuchs. The king lost his temper, seething with his anger over her insolence. The king called in his counselors, all experts in legal matters. It was the king's practice to consult his expert advisors. The closest to him were Karshara, Shitha, Abnatha, Tarshish, Mira, Mashina, and Mumakan, the 7 highest-ranking princes in Persia and Media. The inner circle of the access to the king's ear, he asked them what legal recourse that had against King Vishta for not obeying King Xerxes' summons delivered by the eunuchs. Meacham spoke up in the council of the king's princes. It's not only the King Vishta has insulted, it's all of us, leaders and the people alike, in every last one of King Xerxes' provinces. The word's going to get out. Did you hear the latest about Queen Vishta? King Xerxes ordered her to be brought before him, and she wouldn't do it. When the women hear it, they'll start treating their husbands with contempt. The day the wives of the Persia and Mede officials get wind of the queen's brazenness, they'll be out of control. Is that what we want? A country of angry women who don't know their place. So if the king agrees, let him pronounce a royal ruling and have it recorded in the laws of Persia and Medes, so that it cannot be revoked, that Vishta is permanently banned from King Xerxes' presence, and then let the king give her royal position to a woman who knows her place. When the king's ruling becomes public knowledge throughout the kingdom, extensive as it is, every woman, regardless of her social position, will show proper respect to her husband. The king and the princes liked this. The king did what Memucan proposed. He sent bulletins to every part of the kingdom, to each province in his own script, to each people in their own language. Every man is master of his house, whatever he says goes. Later, when King Xerxes' anger had cooled, and he was having second thoughts about what Vishta had done and what he had ordered against her, the king's young attendant stepped in and got the ball rolling. Let's begin a search for beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint officials in every province of his kingdom to bring every beautiful young virgin to the palace complex of Susa and to harem run by Haggai. The king's eunuchs who oversees the women will put them through their beauty treatments. Then let the girl who best pleases the king be made queen in place of Vishta. The king liked this advice and took it. Now there was a Jew who lived in the palace complex in Susa. His name was Mordecai, the son of Jera, the son of Shemiah, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. His ancestors had been taken from Jerusalem with the exiles and carried off with the king Jehoshaphat of Judah by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon into exile. Mordecai had raised his cousin Hadash, otherwise known as Esther. Since she had no father or mother, the girl had a good figure and a beautiful face. Her parents died. Mordecai had adopted her. When the king's order had been publicly posted, many young girls were brought to the palace complex in Susa and given over Haggai, who was an overseer of the women. Esther was among them. Haggai liked Esther and took a special liking to her. Right off, he started her beauty treatments, ordered special food, assigned her seven personal maids from the palace, and put her and her maids in the best rooms in the harem. Esther didn't say anything about her family and racial background because Mordecai had told her not to. Every day, Mordecai strolled beside the court of the harem and to find out how Esther was doing and get news of what she was doing. Each girl's turn came to go into the King Xerxes after she had completed the 12 months of prescribed beauty treatments. 6 months treatment with oil and myrrh, followed by 6 months of perfumes and various cosmetics. When it was time for the girl to go to the king, she was given whatever she wanted to take with her when she left the harem for the king's quarters. She would go there in the evening. In the morning, she would return to a second harem overseeing Shagaz, the king's eunuch in charge of the concubines. She never again went back to the king unless the king took a special liking to her and asked her by her name. When it was Esther's turn, she got to go to the king, Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had adopted her as her daughter. She asked for nothing other than what Haggai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem, had recommended. Esther, just as she was, won the admiration of everyone who saw her. She was taken to King Xerxes in a royal palace in the 10th month, the month of Tebeth. In the 7th year of the king's reign, the king fell in love with Esther far more than any of the other women or any of the other virgins. He was totally smitten by her. He placed a royal crown on her head and made her queen in place of Vishta. Then the king gave her a banquet for all his nobles and officials, Esther's banquet. He proclaimed a holiday for all the provinces and handed out gifts with royal generosity. One of the occasions where the virgins were being gathered together, Mordecai was sitting with the king's gate all the time. All this time, Esther had kept her family background and race a secret, as Mordecai had ordered. Esther still did what Mordecai told her, just as when she was being raised by him. On the day that Mordecai, sitting at the king's gate, Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the entrance, had it in for the king and were making plans to kill Xerxes. But Mordecai learned of the plot and told Queen Esther, who told King Xerxes, giving credit to Mordecai. When the thing was investigated and confirmed as true, the two men were hanged on the gallows. This was all written down in the logbook kept for the king's use. Some time later, King Xerxes promoted Hamath, son of Hamdatha, the Agite, making him the highest ranking official in the government. All the king's servants in the king's gate used to honor him by bowing down and kneeling before Haman. That was the king. That's what the king had commanded. Except Mordecai. Mordecai wouldn't do it, wouldn't bow down and kneel. The king's servant at the king's gate asked Mordecai about it. Why do you cross the king's command? Day after day they spoke to him about this, and he wouldn't listen. So they went to Haman to see whether something should be done about it. Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. When Haman saw for himself that Mordecai didn't bow down and kneel before him, he was outraged. Meanwhile, while learning that Mordecai was a Jew, Haman hated to waste his fury on just one Jew. He looked for a way to eliminate not just Mordecai, but all the Jews throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes. In the first month, the month of Nisan, of the 12th year of Xerxes, the pur, that is, the lot, was cast under Haman's charge to determine the propitious day of the month. The lot turned up the 13th day of the 12th month, in which is the month of Adar. Haman and the Haman spoke with the king Xerxes. There is an odd set of people scattered through the province of your kingdom who don't fit in. Their customs and ways are different than those of everybody else. Worse, they they discarded the king's laws. There's an they're they're an affront. The king shouldn't put up with them. If it please the king, let orders be given that they be destroyed. I'll pay for it myself. I'll deposit 375 tons of silver in the royal bank to finance the operation. The king slipped his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, son of the Hammedatha, the Agite, arch enemy of the Jews. Go ahead, the king said to Haman. It's your money. Do whatever you want with these people. The king's secretaries brought it on the 13th day, brought in on the 13th day of the first month. The orders were written out word for word as Haman had addressed them to the king's satraps, the governors of every province, and the officials of every people. They were written in the script of each province and the language of each people in the name of King Xerxes and sealed with the royal signet ring. Bulletins were sent out by couriers to all the king's provinces with orders to massacre, kill, and eliminate all the Jews, youngsters and old men and women and babies, on that single day, the 13th day of the 12th month of the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. Copies of the bulletin were to be posted in each province, publicly available to all the people to get them ready for the day. At the king's command, the couriers took off. The order was also posted in the palace complex of Susa. The king and Haman sat back and had a drink while the city of Susa reeled for the news. Well, that got interesting. Esther 1:1 through 3:15, the breakdown says Esther begins with King Ahasuerus displaying his enormous wealth and power. Queen Vishta refuses the king's command and is removed. So King Xerxes, I don't know who Ahasuerus is. Esther, a Jewish orphan raised by Mordecai, is eventually chosen as queen, but she kept her Jewish identity hidden. Meanwhile, Mordecai refuses to bow to Haman. Haman responds by plotting to destroy all the Jews. The takeaway: God may be working behind the scenes long before you can see the outcome. Esther didn't know why she was placed in the palace, and Mordecai didn't know where his decision would lead. Your current position may be part of God's preparation for your future purpose. Wow. 1 Corinthians 11:17 through 34. Regarding this next time, I'm not at all pleased. I'm getting the picture that when we meet together, it brings out your worst side instead of your best. First, I get this report of your divisiveness, competing with and criticizing each other. I'm reluctant to believe it, and there it is. The best that can be said for it is the testing process will bring truth into the open and confirm it. And then I find that you bring your division to workshop. You come together instead of eating the Lord's Supper. You bring it in a lot of food from the outside, make pigs of yourselves. Some are left out to go home hungry. Others have to be carried out, too drunk to walk. I can't believe it. Don't you have your own homes to eat and drink in? Why would you stoop to desecrate God's church? Why would you actually shame God's poor? I never have believed you would stoop to this, and I'm not going to stand by and say nothing. Let me go over with you again exactly what's going on in the Lord's Supper and why it is so centrally important. I received my instructions from the Master himself and passed them on to you. The Master Jesus, on the night of his betrayal, took bread, and having given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." After supper, he did the same thing with the cup. "This cup is my blood, my new covenant with you. Each time you drink this cup, remember me." Well, There is your communion verses. 1 Corinthians 11, 26, 27. What you must solemnly realize is that every time you eat this bread and every time you drink this cup, you reenact in your words the actions of death of the Master. You will be drawn back to this meal again and again until the Master returns. You must never let familiarity breed contempt. Anyone who eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Master irreverently is like part of the crowd that jeered and spit on him at his death. Is that the kind of remembrance you want to be a part of? Examine your motives, test your heart, and come to this meal in holy awe. If you give no thought, or worse, don't care about the broken body of the Master when you eat or drink, you're running the risk of serious consequences. That's why so many of you, even now, are listless and sick. Listless and sick. And others have gone to an early grave. If we get this straight now, we won't have to be straightened out later on. Better to be confronted by the Master now than face fiery confrontation later. So, my friends, when you come together up to the Lord's table, be reverent and courteous with one another. If you're so hungry that you can't wait to be served, go home and get a sandwich. But by no means risk turning this meal into an eating and drinking binge or a family squabble. It is a spiritual meal, a love feast. The other things you asked about, I'll respond to you in person when I make my next visit. Breakdown of 1 Corinthians 11, 17 through 34. Paul confronts the Corinth church because this gathering has become divided and selfish. People are eating and drinking while others are going without. Paul reminds them that communion isn't simply a ritual, it's a remembrance of Christ's body and the blood that sacrifice he made for us. He tells them to examine themselves before taking communion. The takeaway, don't just participate in church, check your heart. If you can sit at the table physically while being completely disconnected spiritually, communion should bring us back to humility, gratitude, unity, and remembering what Jesus did for us. Psalms 35, 17 to 28. God, how long are you going to stand there and do nothing? Save me from the brutalities. Everything I've got is being thrown to the lions. I will give you full credit. When everyone gathers for worship, when people turn out in force, I will say hallelujahs. Don't let these liars, my enemies, have a party at my expense. Those who hate me for no reason, winking and rolling their eyes. No good is to come from the crowd. They spend all their time cooking up gossip against those who mind their own business. They open their mouths in ugly grins, mocking, ha ha ha. Thought you'd get away with it. You've caught you hands down. Don't you see what they're doing? God, you're not going to let them get it get by with it, are you? Not going to walk off without doing something, are you? Please get up, wake up, tend to my case. My God, my Lord, my life is on the line. Do what you think is right, God, my God, but don't make me pay for their good time. Don't let them say to themselves, ha ha, we got what we wanted. Don't let them say we've chewed him up and spit them out. Let those who are being hilarious at my expense be made to look ridiculous. Make them wear donkey's ears, pin them with a donkey's tail, who made themselves so high and mighty. But those who want the best for me, let them have the last word, a glad shout, and say over and over and over, God is great. Everything works together for the good of the servant. I'll tell the world how great and good you are. I'll shout hallelujah all day and every day. Breakdown of Psalms 35, 17 through 28. David continues to cry out to God while being attacked by people who falsely accused him. He asks God not only for protection, but the justice. Yet David ends with confidence that God will ultimately be glorified and that those who love God's righteousness will rejoice. The takeaway, you don't have to defend your character to everyone. God knows the truth. When people misunderstand you, accuse you, and turn against you, keep doing what is right and let God handle the courtroom. Proverbs 21, 19 and 20. Better to live in a tent in the wild than with a cross and petulant spouse. Valuables are safe in a wise person's home. Fools put it all out for yard sales. These verses break down Proverbs 21, 19, and 20. These verses contrast a contentious, difficult spirit with wisdom and self control. They also teach that wise people store and manage resources while fools consume everything they have. The takeaway: peace and preparation are signs of wisdom. Don't let temporary emotions control permanent decisions, and don't consume everything you receive. Build something, save something, prepare for tomorrow. If no one told you today, I love you, I love you, I love you. I appreciate you. We will see you tomorrow. It will be August 19th. Have a better than good evening. We will see you tomorrow.